Welcome back to the Daughters of the Moon podcast. Both Mom and I are really grateful that you can join us for another week. And today we're excited we have John Graham on with us. John shipped out on a freighter when he was 16, hitchhiked through the Algerian Revolution at 19, and was on a team that made the first ascent of Denali's
Oh,
North Wall at 20, a climb so dangerous it's never been repeated. He hitchhiked around the world at 22, working as a correspondent in every war he came across. A U.S. Foreign Service officer for 15 years, he was in the middle of the 1969 revolution in Libya and the war in Vietnam. At the United Nations, he risked his career crossing his own government to support initiatives for peace and justice in Asia, Africa, and Cuba, including engineering a UN plan that helped end apartheid in South Africa. As a global peace builder, post Foreign Service, he contributed to the peace efforts in Israel, Palestine, and for the last 42 years, he's been the leader of the Giraffe Heroes Project, a global movement inspiring people to stick their necks out to solve public problems and giving them tools to succeed. His speeches, blogs, podcasts, and interviews have global audience. So welcome, John. We're excited for you to be on the podcast with us today.
oh, I'm delighted. Did I really do all that stuff? Oh my goodness. Yes. Well, thank you. Yes. My bumper sticker, Kim, is that I'm lucky to be alive.
Okay. And so why do you say that? Just because of all these things that you've done and you've kind of lived on edge?
Exactly. From my very first time working on a freighter when I was just 16, 17 years old in the Far East, I've had one adventure after the other, and each one seemed to be more difficult and more dangerous, sometimes more violent than the one before. So I have been climbing big and dangerous mountains, avalanches, rock falls, all that kind of stuff. Walked away from all of it. I was in revolutions and wars, shot at, car bombs, whatever. I figure by the time that I was 40, I'd faced a violent death at least a dozen times and walked away from it every single time. So when I say I'm lucky to be alive, I mean it.
So were those like near death incidences that happened, or just that it was such a treacherous thing
Oh
that
no, I don't count things that are just treacherous. It would be 100 or more. I'm counting stuff where I was that close to dying. A bullet just missed. The rope caught me just in time. The whatever. No, I'm talking about near misses, each one of which could have been fatal but wasn't.
Was there a reason why you did that? What made you
Oh,
want to do
sure.
that?
It was the adrenaline rush, Barb. It was the adrenaline rush. I was totally hooked, and my drug of choice was adrenaline, and the fact that I kept walking away made me even more convinced that I was indestructible. So I kept moving. You know, a lot of young people, I guess especially young men, when they're 17, 18, whatever, they do difficult, dangerous, sometimes really stupid things, right? We all know that.
Yep.
But you can sort of grow out of it as you assume more responsibility. Well, I didn't. I was in my 30s still doing this stuff. And I was just totally hooked on it. The problem was, and we can talk about this more because it's where the real story is, I think, is that in doing that, I gave up. I forgot the rest of me. I became so single-minded about my adventures. It became an extremely selfish pursuit. And I didn't give a damn about anybody else, about any other major events, about community, none of that stuff. And so I was rapidly becoming, I don't know what you want to call it, a kind of monster. I mean, I was growing up to be this John Wayne figure without any real appreciation of courage and compassion. And that's where I was at my 40th birthday.
Well,
38th, whatever. But I was yeah. So I've had two lives, and they're both well described in a memoir, but I've had two lives, and the first one ended when I was 38, 39, and now I'm 83, and brought on a second life that I hope is a good deal more productive and positive.
Yeah, a lot of times those things in our earlier lives push us to do something different at whatever that breaking point is where we are like, okay, I got to reassess my life and look at where I want to be going. Is that what you found happened at 40 for you?
Well, it wasn't just a gradual reassessment. Like everything else in my life at that time, it tended to be violent. It was during a battle in Vietnam when I was in the middle of stuff. A whole lot of people were dying. And I finally came to the realization that I didn't want to be there. I shouldn't have been there. I didn't believe in the war. It was wrong and stupid. But I was only there because of that aforementioned adrenaline rush. I was there because I love the fact that people were trying to kill me. I mean, it was crazy, demented. But there I was. And I finally realized that. And that was the breaking point. It was the lowest point in my life. When my life was spared once again, um, I came back and started rebuilding that life.
And so how did you start rebuilding this? What kind of was your new focus then when you came out of that?
Yes. Well, the first focus, I came out of that battle in Vietnam, the first focus was what now we would call PTSD. The assignment in Vietnam was so dangerous. I came back, and for a year, I'd walk on the shadow sides of the streets in Palo Alto, California, to avoid sniper fire, bad nightmares, all that stuff. So, the State Department was kind enough to send me on a sabbatical to Stanford so I could sort of work through that stuff. But I did more than that. I came back finally realizing how shallow my life had become, and it was intolerable. And so I sought ways to reshape, reorient, reform my life. And I was lucky. In those days in California, there were things called encounter groups. Barb, you're probably, shall I say, senior enough to know what they were, but they were groups of people that they'd collect around, and you'd sort of spill your guts and tell the truth about yourself, even your most hidden secrets, and hopefully try to improve your life as other people would offer positive feedback. Well, I did that for that year at Stanford, and it helps immeasurably. At first, I resisted because a lot of people were saying to me, "Hey, John Graham, yeah, yeah, yeah. John Wayne, there's no doubt you're brave. There's no doubt you've done all this stuff, and we're not contesting that. And you've had these incredible adventures, but you don't know who you are. There's another John Graham in there that you just don't understand. You haven't even met him yet, and you're an idiot for starting the second half of your life without realizing who you really are." And I thought that was crazy because I thought all I was John Wayne. Um, and I went running out of the room. I remember hurling curses at these people for being so wrong about who I was. And then very shortly after, I was running down this trail and I just sat down and started to cry because I realized these guys, they were all men, were telling the truth. They were very bravely standing up to me and telling the truth. And I began to realize that what I had done, maybe beginning with that very first adventure, going to the Far East on a freighter when I was 16, maybe with that very first adventure, I had taken a big hunk of plywood and I'd nailed it over my heart, so that I couldn't feel my heart. I couldn't feel my emotions. And then the adventures all ensued after that. And what I needed to do, it was now apparent after this encounter group finally got through to me, was rip that board off my chest and allow my heart, that part of me, uh, to express itself. And I found that once that board was ripped off, that beneath all that stuff was a very compassionate and friendly and person and capable of doing great good in the world. I mean, after all, I was smart and I was tough, but I was using it in the interests of my own adventuring. Now I could use everything I was, all my attributes, all my skills in trying to do the opposite, trying to build a better world. Turned out the State Department, not they didn't do it deliberately, but it turned out that they sent me to the United Nations, which was perfect for me, because as you can imagine, I was put in charge of all American policies toward Africa and for a good hunk of the so-called third world. Um, and there are all kinds of problems of peace and justice in that two-thirds of the planet, all the black and brown peoples of the world, the revolutions, disease, poverty, all the rest of it. And I threw myself into solving those problems. And because I was smart and tough, I made a lot of progress. I made so much progress that I got in trouble with my own people because I was told to focus only on the then Cold War. The only thing that interested the U.S. government was battling the Soviet Union, in the middle of the Cold War. That's what I was supposed to be doing, collecting allies at the United Nations to vote on our side and the various votes that would come up in the UN on global policies. Well, I didn't do that. I focused on peace and justice issues all over the third world, and I was getting increasingly into trouble. So I had to do a lot of that work sub rosa. I had to do a lot of that work without even telling my bosses what I was doing. So I sort of created my own State Department, and I was remarkably successful. As you pointed out, at one point I did some work, very dangerous work in terms of my career. I could have been fired or even jailed, and helping end apartheid, the system of institutionalized racism in South Africa.
Well,
I mean, I even double-crossed my own government to finally get the UN to pass a restriction, an embargo on anybody selling guns to the white South African regime, which were then turned around and used to kill blacks. I put I was central to putting a stop to that, and that helped end apartheid. So I feel really good about that. So anyway, the UN was perfect for me because it was a real turnaround. And at the UN, I just was became a different person, and I've been that person for the next 40 years.
well,
Yeah, and you likely had been always that person. You had just, like you said, put the plywood over the heart and just went and did that stuff. And then when you removed it, you were able to start, really acting in this different way. Like that's what I'm hearing anyways.
No, that's true, and it was a quite different way. And I was helped immeasurably by finding a right vehicle to do it. I thought that when I turned my life around in the United Nations, that, oh, by the way, at a certain point at the end of my UN career, I quit the Foreign Service because the U.S. government was nowhere near moving as fast as I wanted to move on peace and justice issues. Like I say, they were focused on Russia, on the Soviet Union. And so I quit because I wanted to do more directly to help the third peoples in the third world. So I quit, and I was naive enough to think that because my heart was now filled with all kinds of positive vibes, that all I had to do was get up in front of audiences and start talking about how to achieve peace and justice. Because I've always been a really good public speaker, so I thought, oh, put me on a podium, put me on a stage, and I'll change the world. Talk about naive. I didn't get anywhere in New York. But I met someone who did, and that was a woman named Anne Medlock, who was a a single mother in Manhattan, living in Central Park West, and she was a writer and editor, and she was disheartened, disgusted, whatever the right word is, about all the negative news in the press, whether it's U.S. media, New York media, whatever. It was all about gloom and doom and fires and rapes and stuff. And she knew there were plenty of great positive stories out there of people, men, women, children even, who were doing brave, positive things to make the world a better place. And nobody was telling their stories. So she said she would, and she did. Um, and so she started the Giraffe Heroes Project. It was called Giraffe because she was looking for people who were sticking their necks out, hence the metaphor, giraffe, long neck. And it was the principle was really simple, and it's a principle that had been in use for tens of thousands of years. If you want your culture to, people in your culture to behave with more courage and more sense of service, well, you don't preach at them to do that. You give them role models, examples. So Anne became a storyteller, and the Giraffe Heroes Project became a storytelling operation. I thought at first, initially, it was foolish, lightweight. Then I fell in love with Anne. Everything changed, everything. And I began to look at what she was doing in storytelling, and she totally convinced me that storytelling was a lot more powerful tool for changing people's behavior than getting up on a stage and preaching at them. So I joined her, and that was 44 years ago now. And Ann and I have been running the Giraffe Heroes Project together. And
Nice.
we still, it hasn't changed, except the means of telling the stories. In Ann's day, in the beginning, she was using vinyl records. Some of your viewers may know what a vinyl record is. Some are probably too young. Pieces of plastic go round and round on a turntable and sound comes out. I, I see Barb smiling. Yeah. And fax machines and even mailing out press releases. Well, now, of course, the Giraffe Heroes Project is modern and we use the latest in social media to tell the stories. By now, we've told the stories of over 2,000 of these giraffe heroes. They're men, they're women, they're kids, they're every color in the rainbow from every walk of life from 60, 70 countries. And they're all making a difference. Could be on gang violence, could be crimes against women, could be poverty, disease, could be getting supplies into Gaza. Anything that needs fixing, these giraffes are working on it. And we tell their stories. And in telling those stories, we inspire other people to get off their rear ends, stop complaining about their problems, and actually get to work and doing what they can do, even if it's something small in their own community, like
Right.
fighting back a book ban in their kids' elementary school or something, anything. Um, but this storytelling has been a powerful tool for changing cultures for, like I say, tens of thousands of years. And Anne recognized that. And that's what the Giraffe Project does. Now, of course, in 44 years, we've done a lot more. Together, we've written 4 books on civic action. We've created a program for schools and kids, goes all the way from kindergarten to high school. We do a lot of blogging. I do a whole lot of podcasts like this one. I'm happy to do it. I have a short form video series called Badass Granddad, which continues the same theme of telling stories. So we're always looking for new ways to do this, but the essential core activity of the Giraffe Heroes Project is storytelling, and it's all about getting people to stick their necks out, make their world a better place.
Oh, beautiful. That's beautiful. So everybody's doing individually, um, just sticking their necks out to make it better world. That's a wonderful thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
I
it.
think so
Well,
too. And I think, we don't always realize just how much power we have as individuals of making a difference. And so often we think that, oh, I'll just sit back and not do anything because really what difference will I make? And what I'm hearing you say with this project is that when we stick our necks out and we make these little changes, however little, they are making a difference in the world.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
that's right. Well, I explained it well then, because that's exactly what we do, and we'll
You
keep
did.
doing it. I mean, Ann and I are no longer spring chickens, but we have I must say, we have a whole lot of fun doing this. It makes us feel really complete, and we know we're helping a lot of people. We get constant feedback of things that have happened that maybe wouldn't have happened without our programs. So, yeah, I mean, people say, "Hey, when are you going to retire? You're 83." I just look at them and laugh. Retire from what? What am I going to do? Go out in the golf course and complain about whatever Donald Trump's been up to that day? No. I'm gonna keep trying to solve the problems.
Yes.
It's true. When you inspire people, it pushes them to the next level of doing what they should do for this world. It was like our podcast. When we started out, it was to inspire people to follow their dreams, to get the things that they need in life that makes them happy. And you do that when you're raising your kids too. You're raising them to inspire them to be the best they can be. So it sounds like that's what you're doing with all of this as well, and it's a great thing to do.
Well, I love your phrase of doing this to help people follow their dreams, because that's really it. The word I use a lot is meaning or purpose.
Purpose,
Uh,
yes,
that is to say, help people find the purpose of their lives. I
yes,
mean, we all, when we look in the mirror in the morning, every single one of us looks at that person looking back at us in the mirror, and we want to know we're on the planet for a reason. I mean,
Yeah.
why? I mean, to be here, to be alive, well, any sense of purpose, except to procreate and then die, doesn't make any sense to most of us. There's got to be a purpose to it. Otherwise, it's like being a Swiss watch with no hands. It doesn't make any sense. We're all looking for that sense of purpose.
That's
I
true.
thought, I thought I'd found the purpose in adventuring. And for a long time I did. And today I've got a lot of friends who are convinced they're going to find the purpose in their lives through gaining money and power. And for a time they do. But I'm just saying, hey, okay, at a certain point you're going to come to understand that something is missing and that something is service, that something is giving back. That my experience has been that the most solid and long-lasting source of meaning, the meaning we all seek, is some kind of giving back, of helping solve difficult public problems, of
Yeah.
service. And when you do that, all of a sudden you're looking back at that person looking back from you in the mirror and saying, "Yeah, this is I'm living a good life. This is what it's all about." I'm not saying by any means, and I speak to a lot of business audiences. I'm not saying by any means that this means you have to enter into sackcloth and ashes or become Mother Teresa. No, you can become a giraffe hero. You can find the meaning and purpose of your life by doing all kinds of things, including being an entrepreneur and a business person. A business person, for example, who makes a good product, sells it for a fair price, fair labor conditions, good environmental conditions, good neighbor in the communities where their factory operates. That's a service. And I encourage business people to keep doing the same thing, recognizing that their ultimate purpose may not be third quarter earnings. It may be the services they provide and making life better for the rest of us because of the product and services that they're offering.
Right.
So yeah, you can find service any place, and I encourage people to think that way. All they need to do is to take stock of who they are, take stock of whatever resources and skills you've learned or you've gained, and they'll tell you something. If you're good at math, well, that may lead you in this direction. If you're a terrific musician, that may lead you in another direction. But keep looking. Never give up the search for where you can make a difference. And that's
Yeah.
what we do with the Giraffe Heroes. These people have found their calling. They have used their skills at math or music or whatever it is, or sheer cussedness for some of them, to make a difference.
So
Uh,
do you write books do you
oh
have
yes,
books that, okay.
we've written four books so far, all on the central theme. One of them though is a memoir. Its title is Quest, Quest, Risk, Adventure, and the Search for Meaning, also an audiobook. And it tells the stories, a lot of stories of my adventures. And if you want to, you can read about the whole first half of the book and just suck your breath in that I'm still alive. The second half of the book describes what we've been talking about, of trying to pull myself around and creating a new life, and then moving on with Ann Medlock on the Giraffe Heroes Project. It's a good book, I must say.
Yeah.
So yeah, the other three books are all about civic action, practical guidance, and storytelling, of learning what to do to stick your neck out without getting your head chopped off. So we offer both guidance and training as well as inspiration.
That's
That's
beautiful.
wonderful.
It's
So do you also put in there about where people can contact all these different places so that they can find their truth with all of this as well?
Oh, of course, all of our 2,000 stories are in a database, and they're reachable through our Giraffe website. Simple enough, giraffe.org, giraffe.org. All 2,000 stories are in a story bank, accessible through that website. And you can spend days reading about them, about the different ways people have stuck their necks out to make a difference. Uh, and in terms of practical things, where there's coaching advice on the Giraffe website as well. And like I say, there's four books out there. So we're well aware that inspiration is rarely enough. You have to give people practical tools as well because some of the
Yes.
problems out there are really difficult and you can't mess around. You got to know what you're doing.
Hmm. Can
That
you
would be
share
true.
some of the tools that people can use?
Well, some of them. I don't want to spend time on this podcast selling stuff that people already know, but a lot of it is pretty common knowledge. How to form a team, how to deal with a conflict, how to deal with community organizing, how to do good PR, how to raise money for a cause, that sort of thing. And we do include that, but many other people also write about that, and we're not particularly exceptional in that regard. Most of our effort is on the inspirational side, is what you do when you're faced with a difficult problem. For example, let's go back to something we mentioned half an hour ago. Someone wants to ban the books in your kid's school. You don't want them to ban books in your kid's school. What do you do? If people have no tools whatsoever, they're going to just wring their hands and talk angrily about the book banners and say, "Oh my goodness, I wish things were different." Well, reading our books, you're going to say, "Hey, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. I can do something. I can go to a school board meeting. I am going to go to a school board meeting and I'm going to raise my hand and say, no, I want my kid to read Tom Sawyer. I want my kid to read whatever, you know, um, and face down the people that want to ban the books. Uh, and once they've had a small success, for example, in their kids' elementary school, then maybe they'll move on. And maybe there's some bigger issue in the city regarding homelessness or busing or whatever. And maybe at the same time, they'll start reading some information on the dangers of artificial intelligence or the dangers of global warming, and they'll send some money to a group that works on those issues, or they'll join them, and they'll grow as they grow in confidence and courage. So people grow. But my constant admonition is to start at an area doing something that doesn't scare you so much that you're paralyzed. Start with something that's within reach and something that is at least related to your skill set. Um, and like I say, I mean, the example of book burning is a perfect example because Jesus, it's happening in every community in the country.
Hmm.
Homelessness, something else. Every community in the country deals with homelessness and NIMBY pressures. Oh, don't put that low-income housing near my house because it may lower the property values. Well, you need to stand up at a county planning board meeting and say, "Hey, let's have a debate. You really want people living on the street? Hey, come on, let's work this one out." You start where you can start.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Oh, I know, I gotta say this. My wife, my wonderful wife, Ann Medlock, has a wonderful phrasing. She says, "Lift up the corner of the rug you can lift up," and she's right. You lift up the corner of the rug you can reach.
Yeah,
It's true.
a hundred
Yeah.
percent. That is so true. And it's I love inspiring stuff like this because when you see different people's ideas of how to combat some of this, like I just recently seen in the eastern part of Canada, there's getting some of these like shipping containers and those kind of things and creating little homes to help the homeless. Like
I've
so
read
they
that.
have a place to go and stay overnight out of the, elements and those kind of things. And I didn't look a lot more into it, but just that initial was like, oh, they can, there's so many opportunities that they can work with them then instead of just turning a blind eye. So
Yeah.
could you share with us one of the inspiring stories? I know you said there's thousands, but could you share one that stands out for you?
Yeah, it's kind of a brutal one, but it is standing out for me just because the people involved are so brave. And it's in Africa. As you may know, there are some places in Africa where the role of women is scarcely above that of the role of camels. There's no women's rights, and not only that, there's awful stuff, physical mutilation, young women, and it's all run by intensely traditional tribal societies out in the tribal bush areas of some African countries. And we've been in contact with some young women who are fighting back, and they're physically risking their lives because the power of the tribal chiefs is all completely dependent upon this kind of violent misogyny. And so these women are walking into villages and training young women that they don't have to put up with it, that they can fight back, and then going to the capital city and collaring lawmakers and presidents and other leaders, insisting on changes in laws and in the constitutions that protect the rights of women, and then furthering that by training women to become politicians themselves, so that there are women senators and presidents and prime ministers who have gained some power in these countries so that they can create the changes that have created problems, some of them for thousands of years, some of the tribal atrocities and in some of these rural places have been going on for a long, long time. And these young women, a couple of them have in fact been killed or certainly heavily injured, severely injured. Um,
Right.
you read these stories and Jesus, you have no support whatsoever. It isn't like you're doing this in Kansas City or Portland, Maine, where you can call on people to help. You're by yourself out in the middle of the jungle, facing down some powerful tribal chief. It's like, whoa. So yeah, you asked for that's been sticking in my head because it's very recent. We just published a story not a month or two ago about such things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is very inspiring because I think, and it brings to people's awareness just what is going on. Because I think so often, okay, my opinion, the media feeds us what they want to feed us. And so we're not seeing all these different things that are happening in and around the world unless we start digging into it a little bit. And it sounds like with the project that you and Anne are doing, that this is an amazing thing to bring this awareness to people.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, it is. And we're getting increasingly good about doing that. We use all kinds of social media. Um, and we're constantly trying new forms of social media. We have some very skilled contractors who are social media mavens helping us develop new ways of programming, whether it be ads on Facebook or whatever, or my badass granddad short form videos, for example, are on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
Nice.
And you get there by just dialing in badass granddad, badass, all one word, granddad with two D's in the middle, into the search box, and you'll see. I've done 68 of them so far, and they're great fun. They're only 3 minutes long. You can't waste much time. And they're all the same thing. They tell a story, but then the last minute or so is about some kind of life lesson, about giving back, about courage, about perseverance. I'm having great fun doing it. And I should add this too, and this is in response to a question or a comment you made 10 minutes ago. Uh, this is all a great deal of fun and a source of immense satisfaction to myself and to Anne Medlock. Um, and I wouldn't quit if I could. And I'm convinced is why Anne and I are living so damn long. I think when you start living a life with this kind of real satisfaction, and you don't say, oh, well, I'm 80 or I'm 90, so I'm going to play bridge with my friends and go to an old folks home, or assisted living home. No, I'm going to keep looking for stuff I can do. I think I think it's the healthiest thing you can do, especially when you're a senior or a super senior like myself and my wife.
Yeah. It's true. That's true. I love to keep myself busy, particularly more so as I mature in life. I want to be the top of my game until I can't.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
you certainly encourage your daughter to do something really cool, so that's a real credit.
yes, well, it's been quite the journey. And I mean, that was our mission too, is like, how do you do this and how do you get the word out to people? And with the podcast, we're very fortunate that we're able to talk to people like yourself and other people that show people all these different ways of living authentically to find their purpose in life. And I think that's what we're all, like you had alluded to earlier, is we're all just trying to find that sole purpose of why are we here and what can we do to
Yep.
make our time on earth be the best it can.
Yep. Never give up.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Never
Yeah.
give up. Yeah.
And so what's next for your Giraffe Heroes project? Do you have anything new that you're stepping into with that?
It's kind of like 40 years ago, we discovered the strategy, storytelling. And everything since then has been refining our tactics. That is to say, moving from fax machines to the latest in social media. So I suspect that I know that we have a board meeting tomorrow, for example. We'll be talking with our board about anything new and exciting, any variations we can do that can up our game in 2026. We probably haven't thought of them yet. Maybe there's some kind of software, some kind of social media that we haven't really tested yet. Some new ally, some new kind of contractor we should get in contact with. I don't know. I mean, the Badass Granddad, the short form videos, I just started them a year ago. It's a great example. I did it on a lark. I didn't know what would happen. I thought people might say, "Oh, this old fool. He's 83 years old, telling these stories. What does he know? Senile old guy." Huh? No, no. I got 120,000 followers in a year.
Wow.
Now
Good
I'm
for you.
I'm still laughing about it.
Well, people like
I'm now
people.
getting notices and pitches from all kinds of so-called social media producers that want me to sell ads, and they're offering me a lot of money to put ads up on my badass granddad, which of course I'll never do. Um, and they say I am now at 120,000 followers. I am now what? A major influencer, a super influencer, you
Right.
know, influencer. Isn't that what you call young women who teach you how to put nail polish on correctly? I mean, me an influencer, that drives me crazy. It's crazy. So anyway, yeah. So I got 120,000 followers. I'm heading toward 2.5 million views. And most of the point is not those stats, but the comments I get. I get a lot of comments. And like I said, I thought in the beginning the comments would be a lot of snark, but no, it's not. These
Right.
things are mostly oriented toward younger people. So I thought I would get a lot of snark, but I don't. I get a lot of positive feedback, half of which is simply keep up the good work, way to go. But the other half are people asking really important questions about their lives or making a really important comment that's really helpful to other people. And so I spend 4 or 5 hours a week answering my fan mail because it deserves it. People are really following this stuff, and I don't care. People say how shallow Gen Z is and all that kind of stuff. These people are searching. They're
Yeah.
looking. Um, and believe it or not, they're not just guys. They're at least split male female equally, and they're looking for answers to their lives and all the pressures they've got, student loans, whatever, And it's like, and so I will engage in conversations, offer what advice I have after 83 years. And I feel really good about that. I mean, I'm helping a whole lot of people. And that's the definition of my life, has been for 45, 44 years now. I want to help people. I want to be of service. And now at 83, I know an awful lot of stuff. And sometimes when I share it, it can help people. And I'm eager to do that.
That's
Terrific.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's super amazing. And I think that's kind of funny that you're an influencer, but I think we need that out there. And I think as you're seeing these questions that are being asked, it leads you into what more do people want to know. And from what I'm seeing in today's day and age is that people like to see people. Like they like to hear these short clips of people like yourself talking about that and inspiring them and making them think outside of what their everyday
Outside the
stuff
box.
is.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
they do, and that's what's. I'm fixated now on artificial intelligence. I mean, what can a machine offer you that a human that a human being doesn't? I mean, you need a personal contact, and it's artificial intelligence is creating the danger of fuzzing the line between people and machines, and I think that's dangerous. And so I'm doing more and more blogging about the dangers of artificial intelligence, which there are, I think, many. But yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah. Uh, the name of the game is being of service, and you do that, you'll feel really good about yourself. You help a whole lot of people, and you'll live longer.
Yes.
There, that's a bumper sticker, isn't it? Yeah.
That's a great bumper sticker. We love it. We love it. So yeah, I think that's really important. And yeah, I agree with you about AI. I think it's like a cursing and bless. It's a
At
curse and
the
a
same
blessing
time,
all in the same. Yeah, say that a couple times fast. Because I think that there's some advantages to things that we can use it to help us with in technology and things like that. But I also think the really problem is it's alienating people and we're losing that connection between people. And
Mhm.
that's where I
closeness.
think there's a lot of issues that, people are now relying on this AI to talk to and to converse with instead of being social and making connections outside into the world.
Working with their heart. They need to work more with their heart these
Yeah,
days.
well, I realize I'm preaching to the choir talking about this with the two of you. You understand, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't accept the wisdom that Kim has just offered. But these personal connections are absolutely key. If they're what make us human, and we need to do whatever we can to maintain these personal connections, and that's why I spend these 4 or 5 hours a week answering the fan mail from Badass Granddad or my podcast or whatever, um, because it's worth it. I'm connecting to people sometimes at a very heartfelt level,
You bet.
and it's a great joy to me, and hopefully of some service to the people I'm talking to.
Yes, I would think that it would be. So if people want to find you, where can they find you?
Well, my website is my name, johngraham.org, not com, org. The Giraffe Project, as I said, is giraffe.org. And by the way, giraffe has two F's in it. You'd be amazed. I don't know whether it's because our educational standards are slipping or whatever. A lot of people can't spell giraffe. It's giraffe.org. I've already told you how to get in contact with Badass Granddad on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Um, so and the memoir you can put it in the show notes as well. Again, it's Quest, Risk, Adventure, and the Search for Meaning. Other books are listed on my webpage, on my website, which I've given you the URL for. So that should be enough.
Perfect. Nope, that's wonderful. And we will share those in our show notes with everybody. So if you had a final thought to leave with us and our followers, what would it be?
Never give up on the search of finding the true meaning of your life. You may think it's adventure, you may think it's money and power, and I'm suggesting that maybe it's more than that. That the instant you start putting who you are, all your skills and resources into some kind of giving back, making the world a better place, making your community, your family a better place, dealing with more compassion with your out of control teenager. The minute you start focusing on being of service, you'll discover what that meaning is and it'll change your life.
Good one.
Beautiful.
That's very good. That's so true too. Yeah.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is. Well, we so appreciate you being on with us today and sharing your wisdom with us and your followers and, inspiring people to stick their necks out and make a change in the world. And I think through making those changes in the world, that's where you find your purpose too and what your soul's calling you to do. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Yes. Thank you so much.
I want to thank the two of you. I think what you're doing in this podcast is an enormous service, speaking of service, bringing these fresh ideas and these healthy ideas to a wider public. So I look forward to seeing what comes out of this, and I think the three of us together have maybe done a little good. So
I
thank you.
think so too. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
think
We
so too. And thank you for that.
Yes, we appreciate that. And everybody else, we will see you on the next one.
You bet you will.